Hi again. After this one, I'd like you to write a prediction for what you think would happen next. But I'd also like you to look back at your previous prediction and see whether or not you were right. And if you were, write down in what way you were correct. Or if you wasn't right, write down in what way you were wrong. Okay? So after this, just write me a prediction for what you think will happen in the next few chapters. Chapter 23, here we go. The full moon shone through cracks in the dirty clouds, dappling the docks with light. A stray cat bolted behind a heap of nets, but otherwise the wharf was empty. Boats creaked eerily against their tethers. Heart pounding, Wild Boy raced after Clarissa, weaving between stacks of crates, darting around a mound of slimy nets, and then hiding behind a cart that was filled with props from the circus. "Hey," he whispered, "what we doing here?" Clarissa ignored him as she searched for something in the cart. A trombone fell from the side, and Wild Boy just managed to catch it before it clattered to the ground. He swore at her, but she wasn't listening. She hadn't even told him what she was looking for. "Something we need," was all she'd say, and he wasn't asking again. He knew she wouldn't tell him, just as she'd not said how she knew Mary Somerset, that name in Dr. Griffin's book. She enjoyed being in charge. Wild Boy leaned around the side of the cart, checking that they hadn't been seen. From here, he could see straight into the iron-roofed warehouse where the travelling fair had camped. Everyone was there. The showmen, the circus crew, the performers and storeholders, all making last-minute preparations before riding to Bartholomew Fair in the heart of London. And there, among the vans, was his old freak show. Sir Oswald was still fixing up the caravan, hanging onto the side with one arm as he connected a new pipe to those that had already snaked around the wooden walls. Augustus Finch leaned against the van. The scars were shiny across the showman's face, and his Badger Street hair hung wild about his eyes. He still struggled to stand on his wounded foot, which Wild Boy was pleased to see. "Serves the old goat right," he muttered. He realised that he wasn't scared of Finch any more. So much had happened since he'd fled that caravan. He had bigger fears to face now. Clarissa came up beside him. She was looking into the warehouse too, and she had seen her mother. Mary Everett looked even more frightening than Finch, with fresh white makeup smeared across her face and staining her greasy red hair. The powder crumbled from her cheeks as she leaned on her crutch and roared orders at a couple of porters fixing a wagon wheel. "Let's go," Clarissa said. Wild Boy grabbed her arm. He had to say something. Clarissa still had a chance to get out of this. Her mother might beat her, but bruises and broken bones heal. "Clarissa," he said, "you don't have to run. The circus will hide you if you get back. Your mother would." "She ain't my mother," Clarissa said. "At least not no more. I'll never go back." She slung a sack over her shoulder, stuffed with a few items she'd stolen from the cart. "We waiting for Sir Oswald?" she asked. Wild Boy couldn't help feeling relieved. He didn't want to go on alone, but from now on it was just him and Clarissa. He didn't know where they were headed, only that it would be dangerous. Sir Oswald had risked enough to help them already. "It's just us," he said. They looked at each other for a moment. Neither spoke and neither smiled. Wild Boy wanted to do both. He opened his mouth to say something, but Clarissa sprung up and set off towards the street at the end of the wharf. "Mary Somerset," she called. "This way." "May we be seen?" Wild Boy said. She'd been waiting for that question. She rustled in her sack and brought out a pair of purple clown shoes and a single lump of coal. Her eyes twinkled in the moonlight. "I got a plan," she said. "Run for your lives, it's the Wild Boy of London!" Wild Boy waddled uneasily along the cobbled street, placing each step carefully to avoid tripping over the elongated clown shoes. If he hadn't been so scared, he'd have felt ridiculous. But he had to admit this was a good plan. There must have been 100 people staring at him right now, and they all could see of him were his green eyes staring through holes in the sack. Across the front, Clarissa had scrawled a monstrous charcoal face with jagged fangs and the words "Wild Boy" suitably beneath. She wasn't wearing much of a disguise herself, just a cloth cap to hide her flame-coloured hair. "Run for your lives!" she yelled. "The wild boy of London will eat you up!" They were crossing London Bridge, headed for the north bank of the city. Workers chiselled blocks of stone under the glare of the gas lamps that lined the parapet, repairing the bridge. Around them, the night rang with the clip-clops of horses and cries of costermongers selling rat poison, razor blades, garter clips and grease remover. Most people were too busy to care about a boy in costume, but one of the stone cutters swaggered over and blew a kiss at Wild Boy's sack face. "Ho, ho, ho, ho," he guffawed. "The Wild Boy is a softy. I thought he'd growled like a wolf." Clarissa's fingers dug into Wild Boy's arm. "Hear them, Wild Boy of London, growl!" "Grrr," Wild Boy said. "Growl louder." "I said grrr, didn't I?" He knew she was enjoying this, not just his disguise, but being in charge. Whoever Mary Somerset was, he hoped she was close. He wasn't used to wearing any shoes at all, let alone clumsy clown boots like these. A stone hit Wild Boy from behind. A gang of boys sat on the edge of the bridge, throwing rubble at passers-by. One of them spotted him and raced over, determined to look under his sack. Wild Boy tried to stay calm, to fight his fear and to think. He stepped back, ready to attack. He'd kick the boy in the face, he decided, and hoped no one saw the hairy foot that shot from under his disguise. But just as he came close, Clarissa snatched the boy's arm. "Can you swim?" she asked him. "Eh? What do you want to know?" "Because if you touch my friend, I'll throw you in the river." They eyeballed each other. A battle of wills. The boy was from the streets, but Clarissa was tougher, and he could tell. She let go of his arm, and he turned and scampered away. Ha! Clarissa burst out laughing. "Did you see that?" "Clarissa, look." The boy had run back to his friends. He pointed at Clarissa, and the whole gang leaped from the parapet and barged their way closer. The smile slipped from Clarissa's face. "Can we fight that many?" she said. "I'm in a sack, remember? We've got to get out of here." "Hold my arm." Wild Boy gripped her tightly as she led him through the crowds. They reached the end of the bridge and she pulled him into a side street, away from the danger of the gang. "They're gone," she sighed in relief. "This is the way anyway. Come on." They entered a maze of dark lanes and courtyards. Shabby buildings scowled at them as they passed. Wild Boy heard steamboat bells close by on the Thames. Even through the sack he could smell the river's turgid water. He wasn't surprised that Clarissa knew her way around here. They weren't far from West Smithfield, where Bartholomew Fair was held each year. He guessed that she used to sneak from the fairground and explore the streets, and found himself wishing he'd known her better back then. He'd never really thought he could be friends with anyone, but maybe he'd been wrong. "All right," Clarissa said. "We're here." Wild Boy peered eagerly through the holes in the sack. They'd stopped in the middle of a particularly squalid street near the river bank. On one side stood rickety wooden houses. On the other was a decrepit stone church with a wild, overgrown graveyard. A crooked gas lamp cast a queasy glow over its rusty iron gate. "Mary Somerset," Clarissa said. "Eh, where?" She turned him round, so his gaze fell again on the church. "There." Wild Boy stared up at the church's tower as a bat dipped in and out of the moonlight. Finally he understood. "St. Mary Somerset," he said. It wasn't a person, it was a church. Okay, so have a little prediction as to what you think is going to happen next, and also review your previous prediction.